Hey Facebook, come on in the room. I'm gonna give you guys a couple of minutes. I want to talk about something that has been resonating in my spirit ever since I landed here in Texas and while I'm on this beautiful retreat. So I'm going to give you guys a couple minutes to come on in. When you come in, please speak, say hello. When you come on in, like, share, comment, hit the love or like button, show your love. But I just wanted to come on for a little bit. There we go. I'm just waiting for the algorithm to come on in. So yeah, come on in, share this live, because I really this is going to just sound so so crazy. Right now it's 5:52 here in Texas, so I am actually Central Standard Time. So of course, where my usual followers, or I usually go live at home, which is like 6 o'clock, 6:52 at home. But yeah, come on in. As you can see, the topic of what I'm going to just briefly be speaking on is I'm a whole movement. I'm a whole movement. And so I say that with great confidence. I say that with great joy. I don't say it from a place of arrogance, but I say it from a place of amazing confidence, right? So again, come on in, because I really do believe that, you know, somebody needs to hear this. Somebody needs to hear this. So I'm just gonna wait till we get these numbers up. It's taking about 2-3 minutes, I guess, to get the algorithm going. I guess that's what I get for not going live often, because Facebook like, I'm gonna make you start over. It's all good though. That's all good. It's all good. Here we go. We're getting the numbers up. So when you come in, there we go. That's getting a little bit better now, because I was starting to get a little worried. Like, okay, Facebook, what's going on? But yeah, so as you guys come in, I'm going to be talking about why I made this statement, I'm a whole movement. As you guys see, I posted a picture of myself, of my beautiful self. Actually, I think, if I'm not mistaken, that's like the first selfie that I've actually posted in 2021. Yeah. But I wanted to share what came about, or how this, you know, how this specific statement came about. I'm a whole movement, right? I'm a whole movement, and it's really from a positive stance. It's really from a, you know, a place of confidence, a place of joy. You know, because at the end of the day, when we make certain gestures or statements and things of that nature, especially on, you know, big platforms, not everybody's going to understand. I'm pretty sure somebody was like, who she thinks she is? Okay, whatever. You know, and they can think it. They have every right to think it. That's their business, not mine. So, I'm here on a women's retreat, and as you guys know, you know, I'm a hair and makeup artist, and so I actually came to Texas to actually be the featured makeup artist for the retreat. However, I understand and know that, hey, sis, hey, Trish, hey, Tish, I'm sorry, I'm actually at a retreat with a young lady named Trisha, so forgive me for that. But so we all know how I am as far as God using my gift as open doors. Hey Tasha, hey Jess, hey sis. And so I knew that I just was not here to do makeup. I knew the prophet needed to show up, right? And so I truly believe how God is just using individuals in these hours that, he's using their gift to make room for them. He is using their talent to open doors for them if you are willing and obedient, if you are submitted. There's that word again, submit. Y'all, I like that word, y'all. And so, I knew that I was not just showing up as a makeup artist. I knew that at some point the prophet was going to have to show up. And so at the end of the day, I'm a prophet first, right? And so I was literally sitting on the balcony where I'm going live at this moment. And I'm sitting on the balcony and I literally hear like I'm a whole vibe. I'm a whole movement. So in my mind, I'm like, well, everybody be like, oh, good vibes and everything like that. And that's their business. I don't really rock like that or whatever the case may be. I don't. So I was like, you know what? I was like, forget a vibe. I'm a whole movement. I was like, okay. And for some reason, like that just, it just sat well. I'm like, I didn't feel arrogant. I just felt like, wow, God. And so what I did was I began to look up the definition of movement. And the definition that I came across is a change in, watch this, my God, a change in position and posture, right? Movement. And so I started to just really think on this and say, God, okay, I'm a whole movement. And what I literally just heard the Spirit of the Lord say is that there is a movement on there's a kingdom movement on the inside of you, that when you actually go out in the earth, you are making an impact through the movement of the kingdom. And watch this. And so the movement could not start until I shifted my position. I needed to shift it, my perspective. I needed to shift my posture. Not that I was out of alignment, but y'all hear me talk about all the time about a season shift. And so there is a season that is coming up where it is really time for you to shift. And if you can remember me saying on the last live, I said specifically that this is not just going to be a season, but this is now going to be what I've always desired, is a lifestyle. And so these next moves that I make and things of that nature, it is going to be a part of my new normal, right? It is going to be a part of my lifestyle. And so we have to understand that God has placed a divine kingdom movement on the inside of us, but that movement is not able to be activated until we know and understand, number one, that there is a kingdom movement on the inside. That's number one. And number two, that there needs to be a kingdom perspective shift in our mindset. Okay. And so I said, okay, God, I'm really liking this because this makes this is really good. And so watch this. And so, so now that I understand that my posture and my positioning has taken a change, right? There has been I hear in the spirit, there has been a kingdom makeover. My God, I know that's right, sis. So this is what happens when you understand that shift and you begin to act on that shift. What happens is you begin to literally go into atmosphere and cause an awakening or a repositioning in the spirit. and you can't help but to experience and encounter the God that I serve, right? And so therefore, when it comes to this this whole movement on the inside of us, this movement is not because, you know, I am declaring it arrogantly, but I am declaring this because of the fact that God has now God has sent me out to create what I like to call like a, well, I ain't gonna say that. He has sent me out to establish his will. He has sent me out to activate. He has sent me out for the ushering of his glory. And it does not matter the numbers. We're not talking about numbers. And so so I want to share with you what has taken place a little bit in this retreat. And so I'm going to specifically tell you one thing that happened. I was praying yesterday morning, and the Spirit of the Lord said, hug this particular young lady. And when I hugged her, it was like when I held her, all of a sudden she broke. And there was first a manifestation that then we had to deal with this. Okay, let's go ahead and deal with this first. And so we had to deal with the manifestation. But when we were done, you know, all of a sudden the peace of God began to transform. She literally felt the presence. When she came back to, let me tell you something. When she came back to, she began to lift up her hands, and it was almost like whatever, it was almost like a freedom. Like all she can do was lift her hands and just hold her head back. And I said, how do you feel? And she was like, amazing. And so this movement is not only ushering in God's glory, but this movement is ushering in a revival. This movement is ushering in a transformation. This movement is ushering in deliverance. This movement is ushering in freedom. Because I told the women on the first night, on Thursday night, that God just doesn't want you delivered. He wants you free. And so deliverance, yes, it is continual, it is ongoing, but at what point do we understand that there is liberation after deliverance? Sometimes we think we're free, we think we're walking in freedom, you know, until we have to confront something else. And then it's like, well, wait a minute, I thought that I was free from this situation. No. Okay, can you back this up with scripture? Absolutely. When the children of Israel, when they came out of bondage, God delivered them out of Egypt. He delivered them out of the hand of Pharaoh, right? But what happened is he delivered them into the wilderness, and the wilderness experience had caused them to go through a process so that the residue of the bondage could be removed before they were released in the promised land. The promised land is the land of freedom, right? That's where the true liberation, that is the area where you're able to experience the freedom and the manifestation of what God promised, right? And so the children of Israel were delivered, but they were not totally free. They wasn't totally free. Why? Because there was still some ongoing processes that they had to go through. But unfortunately, some of them were not able to make it over into freedom, because while they were going through their deliverance process, they started to murmur and complain. They started to they started to desire other things, right? And so what happens in your deliverance, if you don't understand the process, it will cause you to desire the things that go against what God is trying to move you in, right? You'll start to complain, and you will start to say, you know what? this bondage thing looks a little bit better than this deliverance or this freedom. You know what? I think I'd rather be in bondage than to just go through this deliverance process. Why? Because my God, I feel God on today, because trying to get delivered from bondage to get to freedom, it just seems like the process is taking too long. And the thing about it is, it wasn't meant for the children of Israel to go through the deliverance process, my God, for 40 years. Watch this. You can go through a deliverance but still not be free. You've been delivered from some things but still not experience the freedom and the liberation of God, because there are still some mindsets that God has to shift. My God, there's some mindset that God has to change. There are some things that God has to get rid of in order before he can take you over into the promised land. Why? Because when he frees us, he wants us to maintain the freedom, not just experience a one-time freedom situation and then go back to the old thing. No, God says in this hour, I have not just called you to be delivered, but I called you to be free. He has called you to liberation. And so therefore, you must understand that there's a mindset and there's a process that we have to go through. We have to now be intentional, not just for, my God, we have to now be intentional about our freedom, not just our deliverance. We're so hyped about the deliverance thing because we think that, oh God, I got out of that situation. But then there's some other things that you still got to work through. No, God is calling us to live a life of freedom. And I don't know, I didn't say this on this live. I think it was in another a group live. But the thing about it was, one day I woke up and I asked the Lord, I said, God, have we become a culture or a people that like to struggle or know that we have to struggle before we can see the divine manifestation of what it is that you promised us? And so I said, God, have we really adjusted to the fact that we have to have a struggle mindset? I said, because God, as far as I'm concerned, I'm sick of this. And so you know what the Spirit of the Lord said to me? He gave me John 10:10. We all know that in that passage of scripture, it talks about the enemy. He comes to kill, steal, and destroy. But I, Jesus, came that you may have life and have it more abundantly. That's what he gave me, right? He said, I came that you may have life and have it more abundantly. So when I asked the Lord the question, he answered me through his word. And I said, okay, God, I know that. I said, so what are you saying? He said, so to answer your question, Brandy, yes, I am telling you, I am telling you that no, you are. I don't want you to struggle. I don't want you to struggle or have the mindset of struggle or think that you got to struggle to receive the abundant life that I have for you. Why? Because he said, the Lord said, when I sent my son Jesus to die on the cross, my God, when I sent my son, that he already canceled out the lifestyle of mediocrity. He already canceled out the lifestyle of struggle. And so therefore, when we understand that God has not just called us to live a delivered life, but to live a life of freedom, to live a life of abundance, super abundant, then therefore, why am I sitting here embracing a struggle mindset? And so I said, okay, God, then what I'm going to do is not only be aggressive about my deliverance, but now I'm about to get ready to turn it up a notch. And now I'm going to be aggressive about my freedom, my God. And so therefore, let me go ahead and pursue this thing. And so in my pursuit, this is what he gave me. You a whole movement, Brandy. What? You a whole movement. Why? Because I placed something amazing on the inside of you, that when you go out in the earth, not only will you move things, and you cause transformation, but you will literally shake the foundations of hell, and that anything that's not of me won't be able to stand in your presence. My God, that is the type of power and authority that God has placed on the inside of us. And so guess what? I want all of it. 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 So I just encourage you on today to know that you are a whole movement. God has placed great and mighty things on the inside of you that causes change, that causes transformation, that will literally shift your posture. But in order for you to see movement in the earth, you have to. It has to start with you. You have to be the change agent, the change architect in your own life before you can actually see transformation. Now, granted, yeah, there are going to be some situations where we still are working through shifting and changing our posture while we are working in the kingdom. I'm not trying to tell you to not do what God has called you to do, but at the end of the day, there needs to be some intentional time where you are shifting your posture, where you are shifting your perspective, where you are shifting and changing the things about yourself. There needs to be some character issues to be rectified. There needs to be a personality shift. Let me tell you something. The woman of God said something so profound today that just really stuck out to me. And he said, what she said was, we were not literally dealing with the personality, but we need to deal with the principality. And I was like, oh God, that was good. I may have heard it before, but when I did, it didn't probably stick to me as good as it did today. Or maybe it did. But I say this. I shared that because at the end of the day, there's even some principalities that keep coming for you, and that gets you that gets you all tied up and tangled up in these demonic cycles, and therefore you are not able to move like how you want to move. Like, listen, God has called you to live an abundant life. Let me tell you something. When I came here to Texas, I was going through some things, but because of the shift of my posture and the mindset, I really wasn't worried about what was going on back in Maryland, because I knew at the end of the day, purpose and destiny was waiting for me here in Texas. And I knew that this thing wasn't just about makeup, but this thing was more than it was more than beauty. It was about an assignment. It was about the people that were connected to me. Do you know and understand that when I got here Thursday, I started to minister. The woman of God opened up the floor, because I was not the guest speaker. I wasn't the keynote speaker, but she had introduced me. She was like, we definitely want to hear, what every speaker has to say. And then she started calling names, and then she said my name, and I was like, okay, God. I said, now you have given me the green light. And so therefore you gave me the green light. Let's go. Whatever your will is for this retreat, whatever my assignment is, let's go. Let's do this. Yes, God, I'm fully submitted to you. And guess what? I didn't even think that I was going to actually do makeup. I was originally hired to do about 10 to 15 women. I think I only did 4. And I said, you know what, God? I said, this does not even matter, because guess what? That money does not compare to the transformation and the shift that took place through the word that was released through this particular vessel. But watch this. Before a young lady left, she literally sowed a seed into my business. She didn't get no makeup, but how about this? What I charged for the retreat, she sold double. She didn't. Do y'all hear me? I only did about 4 faces. Was hired and told that I was going to do about 10 to 15. Right? That was the initial conversation. But when I told God I'm here on an assignment, and I'll say yes, a lady left, sold into the business, and paid me double than what I was actually charging, right? So it's almost like it was equal to, like, I was almost did like 6 faces, and that's still, and again, it ain't even, and I told God, I said, God, it's never about the money, but it's about my yes and what you place on the inside of me. I don't know none of these girls, never seen these girls a day in my life, but when I tell you, was able to minister. Here's one of the other, like, you want to say hi? You want to say hi?
Hi.
So that is Trisha. Trisha, tell them how like you enjoy the retreat.
Man, yes, I can't wait till next year.
See, I never met her. I never met her, but at the end of the day, the Lord bless her entire life. Bless her entire life, and amongst others. So as I was saying, that it was this thing, it just never was about the money. But what I was also going to say too is that we can never be scared, because when God is sending us out, oh my God, like, God, you're sending me out to the nations, but what do I have to say? But let me tell you something. When you dwell in the secret place of the Most High, when you have a relationship with Christ, when you cultivate your prayer life, when you read and you cultivating your word life, you always got a word for somebody. Do you hear me? You always have a word for somebody. You don't have to know them, but if you are sensitive to the Spirit of the Lord will immediately download whatever it is that you need to say to the individual. I don't know what you need, but God knows what you need. And because my yes is tied to, my God, listen to me, your yes is my yes was tied to Trisha's life. Because I said yes to God, I was able to minister to her I never met her, but was able to minister to her and give her whatever it is that she needed. God knew what she needed. I did not know. God knew that she needed that hug. God knew everything. So at the end of the day, we can't sit here and be like, well, what am I going to do? What am I going to say? I ain't got nothing to say. Yes, you do. You got a whole lot to say, because it ain't you anyway. It's the Spirit of the Lord on the inside of you. And so from this day forward, understand and know that you cannot be afraid to be the very thing that God called you to be. You cannot be afraid to be that prophet in the marketplace. You can't be afraid to write that book. You cannot be afraid, because you don't know what is attached to your yes. You don't know what's attached to that very thing. Okay, so there's a reason why God told you to start the product line, Brandy Nicole. There's a reason why he told you now is the time to go forth. And so now, when I tell you, like, just living a fearless life, a life that just is I'm not my own. I belong to God. My spirit is truly submitted and yielded to God. So therefore, I don't have nothing to be afraid. I don't ever have to walk in self-doubt again. I don't have to walk in hurt again. I don't have to walk in the things in the areas of my life where I used to dwell in. 1 minute, I'm here emotionally. Then the next minute, I'm down here. 1 minute I'm dealing with depression. The next minute I'm joy. No, there's a continued joy in the life of freedom. There is a continuous joy. Oh my God. So as I was saying before, you cannot be afraid. You can no longer give the excuse, oh, well, I don't have nothing to say, because today God says you are a whole movement. God says you are a whole movement. Forget a vibe. I don't do vibes. No, we're not doing that. So you can say what you want or whatever the case may be. I'm not doing it. That's not my language. But what I am saying is that I'm a whole movement. My God. And this is what I hear the Spirit of the Lord saying. You are a whole movement for a nation. I called you to nations. My God. I called you to the nations. Some of you have gotten prophetic words that, oh, you're called to the nations. But how are you going to get to the nations when you're constantly afraid, when you don't even understand that God has placed that? Let me tell you something. I'm trying to tell y'all, all y'all have to do is tell God yes. All I did was just say yes to the assignment. Maya said the vibe might be off, but the movement gotta be right. Absolutely. 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 Now, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to do what God called me to do. And I do it unapologetically. I do it unbothered. I set my face as flint. And I'll say what you will have me to say, even if I have to give hard words. It does not matter, because at the end of the day, it ain't my word. And you ain't coming up against me anyway. If you don't like what I say, oh well. You coming against God. You being disobedient to God. When you look, watch this. When you declare a word from the Spirit, but then there's some retaliation, God says no weapon formed against you shall prosper, meaning that weapon will not touch you. And watch this, and you won't even, this is what I hear God say, the weapon you won't even feel the effect of the darts that were thrown. When you are ministering out of your spirit and not your flesh, but then people come up against you, guess what? They're not coming against Brandy. They're coming against God. And the weapons that they try to form, they'll never prosper, because you did it out of the obedience of God, and you did it out of your spirit. But when you function and operate out of your flesh, yes, you're going to feel the effects of the weapon. My God. Oh, that's a word. And guess what? The weapon will form and it will prosper, because that was a fleshly word. You wonder why you're going through so much demonic warfare? That's because of the fact that you're not walking in the spirit. You want to understand why you things keep happening, because you keep reacting out of your flesh. But when you're walking in the spirit, you don't feel the effects of the weapon. Why? Because of the fact that you're not only in the spirit, but you are dwelling in the secret place of the Most High, which means what? He is hiding you in the shadow. He is hiding you under your wing. So guess what? That dart didn't hit you. That dart, it struck God's wing. But guess what? It still would never hurt God, because He is God. He is strong and mighty. Better yet, it struck the wing, but it broke. My God, that's a word. The minute that my God, I see this thing. Y'all got to see what I see in the spirit. When that dart came for you, it didn't even touch his wing. Why? Because the minute that it entered the circumference or the atmosphere of God's presence, that thing, oh, Sheta Messiah, that thing began to break. And so that's all you need in that moment, to know that when you are walking in the spirit, but they come against you, nothing will come nigh your dwelling. No weapon formed against you shall prosper. Nope, not at all. And you won't feel the effects. You won't feel the effect. Okay? So that's y'all word for the day. I know this was definitely a drive-by. I wish many people were on. But hey, those who were able to tune in. That word was for you, and then for whoever else decides to listen. My God, that's it, Maya. It didn't even ricochet. It broke. It broke. It broke. So, remember, guys, forget a vibe. You a whole movement. Honey, know that if you have been called to nations, you already got the word of the Lord on the inside of you. So, you guys, y'all be blessed. You be, oh my God. Like, listen, this word even blessed me. This word even blessed me. So, y'all be blessed and tune in with me. Starting back in April, we're going to start up Christ Conversation with Brandy Nicole again. And for those of y'all who missed it, Christ Conversation with Brandy Nicole is now a radio show. Whoop whoop. We'll be on the radio. Yes. We'll be on the radio Sunday from 2 to 4. And then I'm going back to my lives on Mondays as well. But I may be doing 7 instead of 12 because I know the world is open back up and people are probably back at work. And I really want people to get the most out of the Christ Conversation with Brandy Nicole experience. So I'm just excited for what God is doing in this hour. I'm just looking for Maya said, I'm just looking for, for God to just do great things in my life. Now that I understand that, he does not just want me to walk in total deliverance, but also walk in liberation and freedom. And it's so crazy. It's so crazy that now I get it. I get it. That thing is different, right? It just hit different. So I love you guys, and I will talk to you soon. Please share this live. Please share this live, and if you want to, I want to see some hashtags, or you can put up a banging cute little selfie. Hashtag I'm a whole movement. Hashtag Brandy Nicole. Hashtag whatever hashtag Kingdom Movement. But listen. Let's go ahead and just start this movement. I'm a whole movement. I'm a whole movement. Why? Because of the fact that God has called me to nations. Why? Because a change is taking place. My posture has shifted. I am now embracing my season shift into a lifestyle. I'm about to get ready to go because I'm about to get ready to start all over again. So I love you guys. Hey, Terry. Hey, boo. I missed you. So yeah. Know you're a whole movement. Be confident in that thing and keep it moving. Hashtag unbothered. Over and out. Love you.